Today is Wednesday, March 7th, 2012. My name is Ulla Metz, and I'm here to interview Bob and Marcy Munson, who have been pioneers of the Boulder County Farmers Market. This interview is being recorded for the Maria Rogers Oral History Program as part of the collection recording the history of the Boulder County Farmers Market. I have with me Anne-Marie Poise, who is filming the interview. To begin the interview, I'd like you to tell us where and when you were born, and whether your family had any background in farming. So do you want to start, Marcy?
Sure. I was born in Detroit, Michigan, June 26, 1942. And my dad always had a garden. They always had a big garden. And so I hoed weeds at that garden. And the garden must have been 2 acres he had rented where he worked at. So that's my farming background. That's all there is. As far as
what did your dad grow?
Oh, tomatoes, a lot of tomatoes we grew. And mostly tomatoes. Actually, beets. And this was just a hobby.
And did he sell it, or did the family use it?
We just used it. My mom canned everything. You know, the beets, the pickles, the tomatoes. And never did we have sweet corn, though. We never had that because we had just a small plot. So that's my farming background.
And you, Bob?
I grew up, I was born December 17th, 1940, on a farm in eastern Illinois, Donovan, Illinois. And my father, grandfather, and my father's brother farmed corn and soybeans and wheat, and we had pigs and chickens and cattle, and a lot of cattle, a lot of pigs,
Wow.
a lot of livestock, and small family farm, I guess you'd call, maybe about 100 acres. No, I think it was about 80 acres in the beginning. It was a farm that my great-grandfather had settled after the Civil War, and so we're what they call a centennial farm in Illinois, and we still to this day farm that farm. I own part of it, and my cousins all own part of it, and my sister, and it's a really old family farm and very productive. I mean, we ship a lot of food all over the world from those farms to feed everybody in India and China and Europe.
Oh, you sell outside of the United States?
Yeah.
Oh,
well,
wow.
The elevator does. We take it to the elevator. The elevator ships it. Right now, most of the corn beans go to either making ethanol or they use it to feed livestock, and or they ship it down south to feed fish, aquaculture, or they ship it off to Europe and the Middle East and Asia.
So is somebody of your family still farming?
Yes, my dad's brother's boys.
Are there?
And one of the boys runs the farm. The other boy has a vegetable farm just like ours. And he raises and sells at farmers markets in the south side of Chicago. And I coach him a lot. Tell him new things to raise all the time. I pretty much shaped that up. Then we came here, and I got it.
Yeah. So how did you come to Boulder?
I got an engineering degree and went to California with the mad rush of people after the Sputnik program went up, and worked in aerospace in California, and then
We met in California.
We met in California and got married there, and our kids were being born, and I wanted to live in a more rural setting. Southern California is really crowded, and so the job opened up here with Ball Aerospace to start a new business for them, antenna business, and I came in and interviewed for it and got the job in '67, and we moved here And after being here for a few years, we started to raise a large garden in town where we lived at. And
Oh, where was that?
that was
Some
started
Pinion.
in Pinion and Meadowbrook and Frasier Meadows. In the very, very, very northwest corner of Frasier Meadows, there's a Meadowbrook subdivision that actually has wells. And we had a large
Northwest.
lot in northwest.
West. Uh-huh.
Meadowbrook and Pinion, right off a baseline there.
Uh-huh.
And it wasn't the real Frasier Meadows, it was kind of the first front part there. And we had a large, huge yard, and so we started to, and actually the first beans that we sold at the farmers market that very first time in '75 was from there.
From there? Uh-huh.
From there, and from that big garden
Good.
there. We had sweet corn and beans and tomatoes and all kinds of stuff growing in the garden.
This must have been a really big garden because it is a residential neighborhood, so you had a really large lot.
Yeah, we had, what, an acre, 2 acres?
It was an acre and a quarter, I think.
Acre and a quarter we had, yeah.
But we had our own well too.
See, that helped.
Oh, and
It was still on a well.
uh-huh. And you used the well water for irrigation,
Yeah.
is it?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And I think the first time we picked 2-3 bushels of green beans and took it down to the first farmers market in 1975, I think it was, July 25th, if I remember right, in 1975, and sat there in the courthouse, in front of the courthouse on Pearl Street. It wasn't a mall yet.
Uh-huh.
And sold those beans, and Richard Foy told us about he and David Balduke's vision of the farmers market as a part of that mall, and I can still see Dave Balduke from Boulder Bookstore saying, "Well, if you're going to sell these beans, you got to have some bags to put them in." So he ran off to his store and come back with some little paper bags because we had a scale, but we didn't have any bags to put them in. We didn't have a table, we didn't have a card table. We just had the trunk of our car.
Oh,
And
uh-huh.
we set them on the trunk of our car.
But there was a farmer's market there, and I don't know how that all happened
What?
before.
Yeah, so how did you find out about the farmer's market?
That was the beginning. That was the first of it there. And,
But yeah, that you could sell your
Yes.
crop there. How did you find out? Because I
don't
lived in
know
town
how.
in
I don't know how
'77.
we found out. I don't know how we found out. We had this crop growing in our yard, and our boys were probably at that time
5 and
about
7.
5 and 7, and we wanted to do something with the family, rather than just going skiing or camping like so many Coloradans do. We wanted to do something on a daily basis with our kids, and
where to start?
that's-
So you drove down with your truck and
no,
just
it was
opened
a
for business?
regular car.
Oh,
Just a regular
truck.
car.
No, you just 2-3
And-
bushel baskets of them in the trunk.
Uh-huh.
Opened up and
Yeah.
started, and when we signed up to sell them, and we were selling them, and the camera came over.
Yeah, see, the camera had that picture. That was just
They
too
came, I
bad.
think they came over that. I think it was that
And they-
year or the next year. Maybe it was that year. They came over and said,
76.
"What?" The boys were sitting there selling it, and they wanted. Mom and Dad said if we sold this stuff, we'd make some money and go on a vacation. So. That was,
Yeah, in fact,
So it
that
was
wasn't.
it was you selling then, Marcy, and
Yeah, yes.
and your boys are who?
Mike
Mike
and
and
Chris.
As Mike and Chris.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, and it's too bad because that was a great picture that Daily Camera had taken, saying, Chris was there making change, and then they had Mike and Chris in the front page
Of the camera.
of the camera, and they say, "Oh, Mike's helping his brother make change." They're making like $2 or something, and that's gone. That
What do you
one
mean that's lost from the?
I don't have it. I mean, I saved everything I had. But
Yeah,
that's, and I did have that, and like I said, I had taken it, and that was the end of it, But
So how many other farmers were there, and what did they sell at that time?
I think John McKenzie might have been there, was he? And Connie Zwick?
I don't
Oh,
Or was
remember,
that the next year, maybe?
I don't remember Connie Zwick at that market at all.
Then maybe it was the next year she came.
I
It was pretty
remember
sparse
John
on farmers.
McKenzie.
Mm-hmm.
In the beginning. There wasn't any farmers. you know, there used to be a lot of farmers out this way that grew specialty crops and took them into, well, there was a Safeway on Pearl Street a long time
So
ago.
what do you mean with specialty crop?
Local tomatoes and, you know, if you went way back to the 1800s, everything, the reason that this became a farming community was the miners came here to mine gold.
Uh-huh.
And there wasn't anything to eat. They shot all the deer and shot all the elk, and very quickly, and by 1858 and 59, the miners got hungry for cabbage and potatoes and stuff like that. So this area got settled about 1858, 1859 as a support for the miners in the mountains. So all the food came local.
Uh-huh.
You know, whether it was wheat right here on Valmont, it was a mill, a wheat mill, where they milled wheat for making flour, and all the produce, and then that continued, you know, from 1858 way into this century, the 20th century, last century, and then it as shipping became real big, and the big stores came in. Then they started shipping everything in mostly from California, and then later on, with about this time, about 1975, with the farmers market, there was a resurgence at that time of a few people buying local, but not a lot of it, just very little. Restaurants didn't really care too much to buy local, but a few
didn't have any
stores.
restaurants.
Well, yeah, there wasn't many restaurants, but there were stores. There was a place called the Green Mountain Granary.
All right, yes.
And they
Probably
would buy
had that,
local.
yeah.
And there was a little store that advertised in the paper, wanted to buy produce, the Krause brothers, and they made a little vegetable and fruit store on Pearl Street called Down to Earth. And they made that in 1976.
And they bought from
And they
the
bought-
farmers.
Oh yeah, they wanted to buy local. They were the first ones to perceive the importance of buying local. But at that time, very few of the real supermarkets wanted to buy local. If you would go and try, you know, I remember going to King Soopers and trying to sell them pumpkins, and they ran out on the last day, and they couldn't get any on Halloween, and I brought some pumpkins into the one down there at 30th and Arapahoe, a truckload of them in there.
Long time ago.
And a long time ago, in 76,
Six.
October 30th of 76. And they were out, and he says, I'll take them on consignment.
Consignment?
On
Consignment.
He says, if I can sell them, he says, I'll pay you for them, but otherwise it's your problem. You come pick them up at the end of the day. So I came back at the end of the day, the next morning. He says, I sold them all.
Oh, congratulations.
But Safeway, there was Dean Graham, wasn't it, down at Safeway? He bought corn from us, but one time we delivered corn, had worms in the ears, and he made the boys come down and cut the tips out of all the ears because it had a little worm in the tip, you know.
Uh-huh. Oh,
And,
So actually I'm curious, as those worms, as they still have them, right?
They still have worms.
Yeah.
What are they?
They're a corn airworm. They migrate up from Mexico every year, and they lay. The moth comes north and lays the eggs, and then the eggs hatch out, and the worm forms. And eats just a little bit at the tip, just a little bit, not very much.
Right. So.
And a lot of people like to see them. You know, they don't mind cutting them out, and then other people just freak out over them.
Uh-huh.
You know, they just throw it in the air. You know, it's like they just got bit by a snake or something.
So, do you remember why right, Green Mountain Granary and the other store wanted to buy local? What was it that it suddenly interested in buying local?
I don't know. I can remember Green Mountain Granary wasn't around for that long.
No, they kind of went out of
Came and
business
gone.
as Steve and Al Krause
Yeah.
came in, and then
Down to Earth
they
Produce.
just thought that would be a something unique, a market that they could fulfill. They came from Manhattan. And their dad was a produce dealer in the green markets in Manhattan.
I
So
think
they had grown up in the green markets in New York, and they knew the importance of the New Jersey and the Long Island produce coming into New York City, you know, and they kind of wanted to replicate that here. but they disappeared and went to Hawaii. You know.
Oh, really?
They left, and then about the time they left, then started Crystal Market, which was a predecessor of Alfalfa's.
Alphas.
Yeah,
Right.
Pearl Street Market.
Pearl Street or Crystal Market.
I thought it was Pearl Street
Well,
Market.
one or the other, yeah. Okay. And then the Alfalfa started. Mark Retzlaff started that with a team of people. And the Alfalfa's market really was the first really big, really organized, well done market. The other ones were, you know, just kind of like down to earth. Were just kind of like it was an old garage, and they rolled up the door and sold produce. You know, kind of like a produce stand.
And I see.
But now, Mark Retzlaff, he come in probably about 1980 or 1 or 2, along in there, and he started Alfalfa's, and he came to us and said he'd like us, and he's another one you should talk to too, because he's really early in so much of the food industry in Boulder, and he says, I'd like to have you guys produce a sweet corn and squash. So we produced corn, and the boys, when they were in high school back in the 80s, early 80s, they would go to Boulder High, and they would drive a pickup truck full of sweet corn, stacked high on the truck every day to school in the fall. You know? And they were at that time you put sweet corn in wire-bound boxes. They were these wire around wood, and they would pull in there about 5 minutes before school and drop the truckload of corn off and leave the truck there, and then they would go to Boulder High, and then they'd come back in the evening and they'd pick up a truckload of empty boxes and bring it back to the farm and do it again the next day. And before they go to school every morning, they'd pick that corn.
But so then you must have moved since then. I can't imagine you had this all in Frasier Meadows.
Only that very bushels of beans. Then Richard Foy and Dave Bolduc says, well, next year we're going to have a much expanded farmers market.
Oh, okay.
Can you produce stuff for us? And at the same time, Al and Steve Krause were starting this down to earth, and there's a Green Mountain Granary, and they wanted a supply of stuff in '76. And so we rented an acre up here that we ended up buying in 1980. But this is in '76.
So what is up, where is that located?
40 acres up there up south that we own, the Dutch, Henry Wanaka Farm. He lived there.
And where is that located? As I don't know where
Just
the
south
market
in the corner, half a mile on the side.
Oh, right,
of the road
south
there.
on 75th and
It's
Valmont.
the one that's right by the lake there.
Yeah, okay.
Right across from the lake. That was the Wanaka property, and we bought that.
And what Henry Wanaka said was, why don't you, I'd been cutting firewood in his place and cutting asparagus and hunting ducks there and so on. And he says, you really like this place. Why don't you use my tractors? And he says, I'll borrow a planter from a guy over here on J Road, a little planter, and you can plant some corn here, and we'll put a little stand in the front yard, and we'll sell this stuff. And I says, well, yeah, we'll do that, and we've got some other markets coming along that might buy it too. Yeah, we put a stand there, but nobody stopped.
On that property.
But we had a
that
stand in
property.
front of our house on Pinion that people still remember buying from us
People still bought.
back in the
They bought them.
70s. I mean, literally, the old people, I shouldn't say that too much, getting up there myself, but they still remember buying. Because kids used to put a little.
Oh, you sold, so that's in Frasier Meadows. You had outside of your house a fruit
In 76,
farm
78,
stand.
79, and 76, 78, and 79, we lived in Frasier Meadows and farmed that farm there. It was a 40-acre farm. So the first year we had 1 acre, and the second year we had 4 acres, and the third year we had 12 acres. And by the time we moved out here and bought this farm and bought that farm, we were up to farming about 16 acres up there.
And you still had your full-time job at that time?
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's because Me and the boys did it all.
I'd leave and go to L.A. or on business or go to Washington D.C. selling contracts for Ball.
Yes.
Or actually, I wasn't selling contracts. I was get called in by NASA with they'd have a problem and they'd say, "What can you do for us?" And then,
wow.
So I was starting the business from scratch. And I still remember one time I landed in Washington, D.C., and I'd called for water, irrigation water out of Baseline, and her and the boys were calling, "Oh, I never got there." And I says, "Well, maybe somebody stole it." And sure enough, somebody stole it. So by phone, then we worked out the problem of how it got stolen, how we're going to get it back. And,
what do you mean by stolen?
Somebody took it.
Somebody took the water.
Somebody shut our head gate and took it down to their field.
Oh, in their field, right.
So here's these boys that are just in grade school, farming the place. And they went out and solved the problem with Marcy. And
amazing.
Got the water to run.
So they should have gone to Stanford. They would have taken them.
So what was it like, Marcy, to run a farm and sell at the farmers market at the same time and raise two kids?
And raise two kids. It was busy. Didn't bother me at all because, don't forget I was pretty young, in my 30s.
Uh-huh.
And, the boys and I basically did it all. We had tomato plants. We had grown, 500 of them?
They were beautiful.
I have a great picture of that. I don't know, somewhere. But anyway, actually the camera took a picture of that, too. But
we had a greenhouse.
And it was, it was just here at this corner here, because we had lived here now. In '79 we moved here.
Oh, in '79 you moved out to near Valmont in '75.
We bought this, and we had a little stand.
Uh-huh. So how many acres is it here around
12.
You? That's 12.
And then the other's
was 40.
But
right?
he died the next year after we bought this place. Dutch Wanaka died. And then there was a bid, sealed bid, and we were the high bidders on it. And won the bid and bought it.
And then we leased the land kitty corner from us too for farming. And then I can remember we had people helping. We had this young girl helping me because I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Anyway, and I did have a contract with Safeway for zucchini.
Mm-hmm.
And I can remember delivering 50 boxes of zucchini to Safeway on Arapahoe and delivering that, unloading it, and then going to play a game of tennis. So now I'm still a little burnt out. I don't go to markets very much anymore. But we do the stand here on Saturdays, and that's fine for me. But anyway, it was I don't know, it didn't seem to bother me.
So do you remember how long the market season was then on Pearl Street?
Started on the 25th of July. And I know it started on the 25th of July. And I think at first it would end about the end of September when first frost had come. And then after a while it might have run on through Halloween. That was it then. But it didn't start until the summer crop. I remember that.
Right in the summer. And what were the hours? Do you remember?
It's on my.
It's on that picture.
I
think it says right on the banner, 9 to 7. 9 to 11. 9 to 11.
Oh, so it was 2 hours.
2 hours, yeah.
Yeah.
That was the original market, was 2 hours, 9 to 11. And I can't remember the new market, because I was on the board for the new market for, 7 years or so. And I can't remember. Maybe it went to 12, but it didn't start till 9.
The new market, you mean on 13th Street?
On 13th Street,
yeah.
Yes.
So, do you remember how long the market was? For how many years they had it on the courthouse lawn?
What day did they start the?
Well, you said 1975, and then for how many years did they have it?
I don't know.
I don't know when the new market.
That I don't know.
I
it's
don't know.
whenever they closed down the mall to to cars.
No.
Well, you couldn't.
No, it was still there a lot of years when the mall was closed down because the cross street. We came in on the cross street, right down from right where the county seat's at, where the big restaurant.
Where the Boulder Theater is, that's
No, on the
for
other side.
the 13th. So you came
It
on
was
13th Street then.
You know where the courthouse is at? It was on the southwest corner of the courthouse lawn.
Oh, okay.
And that'd be the intersection of 13th Street.
Here's a
and-
good picture of that
And,
that I have.
So do you remember then how many years you went to that courthouse lawn?
No.
No.
Because it was every year until we started to go over to 13th Street.
Oh, all
So
right.
if you know
went
the date,
Maybe
the
in 1987. They started.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
So
Oh,
then
so
it would have been 12,
Wow.
12 years.
So
12
a long
years.
time.
12 years. 13
Yes.
seasons, yeah. 13. Let's see.
Mm-hmm.
75, 76, 77,
76.
78, 79, 80, 81, 82, 83, 84, 85, 86.
And then 87.
7.
It was over there.
It was yeah on
So
13th
it'd be
Street.
12 seasons.
Since-
There was 12 seasons over there.
So you remember? I mean, there's kind of a difference, right? The courthouse lawn didn't really take off as much. Why do you think the 13th Street Mall prospered
Well, it
as
did.
much
It kept
as
getting bigger and bigger.
on the courthouse lawn as
Yeah,
well?
and it got too big for the courthouse
House
lawn.
lawn, I see.
So therefore it had to find a new location.
Patient,
More farmers.
Yeah, more farmers all the time.
Oh, so that more farmers had wanted to come to the
Yeah.
market.
I've got to remember who came now. I can't remember.
Calkins sold us
Yeah,
honey.
he sold
And
honey.
Mr. and Mrs. Stevens were
She
always
interviewed them already.
They were a big draw. They were a real big draw.
And then
In the beginning, John McKenzie came, but he
Yeah.
quit coming, and Connie Zolek came.
okay,
Who else?
the guy with the eggs, and I don't know his name. And then
Oh.
he came to. He was there all the time. I just don't remember his name. And then he came to Boulder's Farmers Market.
Chris? You mean Chris?
Chris. His first name
Uh,
was Chris.
Chris.
I just don't remember his
Hmm.
name, last name. But he came. He was one
Yeah.
of the originals. They
Yeah.
came.
Yeah.
And
So did anybody organize the courthouse lawn market? Or
She
I
was
did.
it.
Oh, you did that too.
She was it. She
that
ran
was it. That's all
banner
she
up.
wrote. We
She
kept
just
that
put the banner
banner
up.
and those pole. Well, those.
We charged $5 a day to sell.
Yeah.
To sell, so
Probably.
they could just call you up and said they wanted to come, or how did you? I mean, yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
and then
It was very-
$5 a day.
Uh huh.
And that covered the cost of advertising and management and
Who made the sign? Was it Richard?
Richard Foy
And we kept it in our garage here
or Dave Leduc. Yeah, we kept it here for years.
for years.
Yeah. And yeah, that's
I think who else came? That's all that ever came.
well, there was a few
So
others.
did David Bulldog and
Leduc.
and Richard Foy, did they get involved in organizing
Well,
the farm?
yeah, and organizing it, but they didn't want to run it, so they wanted her to run it.
Uh-huh.
They wanted to get out from under it, because at the time, here they were building this Pearl Street Mall, and they wanted to make other things happen too. And Dave Leduc was running the Boulder Bookstore, so he had a lot of things to do to run that.
Yeah.
And Richard Foy started to, well, the first thing I think was Madison Square Gardens and Union Station and all these projects all over the world. And he became the premium architect of a derelict, rundown place and turn it around to be a place that people didn't want to be to a place where people wanted to be. So, and you can see our mall as a place that people want us to be.
Yes.
So he goes all over the world, and he takes all these Grand Central stations and Union Station, all stuff everywhere, Chicago, New York, London, everywhere, and they'd gone downhill, and nobody wanted to go there, but they had to go through there for transportation. He turned it into a place that was very attractive. You really got to talk to Richard Foy.
All right, I will do that. Yeah, he probably will enjoy
Oh, yeah.
to talk about it, as he's still a strong supporter of the market and comes. I mean, I can see
Saturday.
every Saturday
Yeah,
he comes
he does
to.
come with his wife.
Yes.
Yeah.
He sees it as his baby.
Oh, I see. Yeah, so I definitely have to talk with him. So do you remember how the idea came about to move somewhere else, or what triggered it that the farmers packed up and went somewhere
Moved
else?
over to the, because first of all, the mall got done. You know.
Yes.
Been done for quite a few
Well,
years.
I
It'd been
know,
done for
but-
10 years. It just outgrew them. I remember
well,
exactly.
yeah.
More people were coming, you know.
Yeah.
And it got more busy and busier and busier. So, I don't know who initiated the move. What was it? Josie Heath? She was
I don't
involved
know.
too,
I don't know.
but I don't remember.
I don't know. It just outgrew it.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And
so,
yeah, go ahead.
I mean, I cannot remember. Josie Heath was involved too, but
Well, you
Probably
know,
wanna
Community
call.
Food Share wanted to take it over, and Alice Finnegan and another gal. There's two of them.
Oh, right. Kathy Coyne. Is
Kathy
that
Coyne.
Yes,
Yes.
right.
And they wanted to take the farmers market to a bigger size
Uh-huh.
and get more room for it. And so I can remember that one gal, not Alice Finnegan, the other one. She went over there and she wore a placard where the market was at, you know, describing. And it was a very, very hard beginning. When we went to it went down. People didn't just follow us over there real quick. It was tough for a while, for a few years, until people caught on. I mean,
So-
you know, people wanted to go just down do it in the courthouse lawn.
So,
couldn't
yeah.
have any more.
So you had actually quite a strong following that you had developed
To this day,
from the courthouse lawn?
yeah, the courthouse people lawn come down with the, you know, they still come
some
to
of
this
them I
day.
haven't seen for a while. They probably died. I know.
Yeah, they do. Yeah.
Yeah, but that's
People
true. You know,
die.
you still have. Gosh, what was her name? Margaret. Jeez, she's.
Austral, Margaret
Yes.
Austral.
Yeah, she was.
Austral. Yeah, she still comes.
It's amazing.
Yeah. Richard
Yeah.
Foy was a regular, and Boulder was a regular. They still come. A lot of people still come. You know, it's 40 years later. That's a half a human
Yeah.
lifespan. So half of the people
Yeah.
still come. And mostly new ones now.
So it was, why do you think it was difficult to move your customers? I mean, it's not that far away, right?
It takes a long time to build a market. You know, there have been many people try to start other farmers markets in Boulder, and they give up before they. I mean, you've got to go through literally 5 years of nothing. You know, nothing.
What do you mean with nothing?
Huh?
What do you mean with nothing?
Just standing there. You know, nobody comes much. You know,
Uh-huh.
it can be slow, and it can be a.
Yes,
it can be
that's
it takes a long time for people to establish traditions. You know,
Uh-huh.
to come out on a Saturday, get up on a Saturday morning, come to market. You know, they don't. Most people just don't come to a market on Saturday morning by happenstance. They just don't happen to be downtown, you know, and stumble into it. You know, they have to think, oh, I'm going to get up early today, and I'm going to go down there, and I'm going to fight for parking, and you know.
No.
I mean,
Well, back then when it started, was parking an issue?
No, it wasn't because Boulder wasn't as big. I didn't think parking was an issue at all.
Would have been. It
and it
probably
wasn't an issue.
started to be down
the
on the
market
mall.
started on the 13th.
It probably started to be down on the mall.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But 13th Street wasn't an issue yet with
No.
parking.
Well, there wasn't any. They had to kind of make some parking lots available for it, you know.
Yeah. So, what do you remember what the farmers did to kind of make people come now to the new location?
Alice, not Alice Finnegan, the other guy.
Kathy Coyne?
No, the other one.
I don't know.
She wore this placard over there. She wore this big long placard, and she'd go over there when it had an arrow on it, and she'd walk where the old farmers market was at.
So she was,
and she was with Community Food Share.
yeah.
And she was kind of like a director of Community Food Share, and she would go over there and walk around and direct people over.
to where the
Because
market
Market
was.
was.
Because they
To the
establish, when people establish a tradition, it's hard to break too.
Mm-hmm.
They'll come back forever, you know. I mean, there's nothing that says, there's no big sign sitting there and say, farmers market no more, go over there too.
Yeah,
Two blocks.
right, yeah. It's,
Mhm.
well, that's good to hear that actually, right, you had a strong following. Marcy, you mentioned that you were also involved in the organization of the farmers market. So were you on the board then?
The new one?
Yeah.
Yes, I was on the board. I was secretary. I think I was on the board 7 to 9 years on the board.
Uh-huh.
So I was always secretary.
So what is the position of the secretary? What did you have to do?
Take the notes. I still have those notes. Which is
Notes of
the meeting.
meetings.
That's
uh-huh.
all.
Did you have to
And I-
advertise the meeting, get in contact with everybody to come and all that, or?
Yes, I did.
Yeah.
See, I can't
Cool.
remember. It was once it once a month or
Then you'd all get together afterwards and go out
have a
and
beer?
have a beer and talk it all off the record.
John McKinsey was on that board. Gosh, what's his name that's out there selling plants? He was on the board for a long
Oh,
time.
yeah. Out at,
Oh, I can't remember his
Mm.
name.
What does he sell?
He sells plants, but he's out on
He sells
52.
52.
He attended our market
I-25.
also, but then
Uh-huh.
he left. I can't-
So
And he still raises the plants out there,
Yeah.
he just doesn't come to town and sell anymore.
Mm-mm.
I stopped
Uh-huh.
in and bought some plants from him last year.
What kind of plants did he sell? Flowers or
Flowers, plants, yeah.
And herbs.
Herbs and
Herbs.
everything.
Mhm,
Yeah,
mhm.
he does a very good job.
Guy Grigsby.
Guy Grisby.
Yeah, there you go.
Gosh, he does a great job.
Yeah.
He was on the board forever too.
You like talking to him. He's got neat little greenhouses, and he lives there with his wife. He married John McKenzie's wife.
Oh, all right.
Yeah.
Well,
And he married John McKenzie's wife. Oh, and Miller's came.
Miller's, uh-huh.
Joe Miller.
So
Dad, Roy Miller. He came. I think he came
he came all the time. And he was very
Yeah.
colorful.
very
He'd have these
colorful.
chickens. I mean,
He sold chickens at the farmers.
Chickens.
Um,
yes, but this is a long time. But he's dead now.
Yeah, he died
Uh-huh.
a long time ago.
Yeah.
So yeah, what did farmers then sell at that market? I didn't realize. So they sold chickens. So
I'm
he
almost
sold
positive he sold chickens. He was right next to us. I remember those
remember that.
chickens.
chickens.
He brought chickens in his home.
Yeah, I just remember that.
Mhm.
Jeez, unless he just brought them for fun
I
and didn't
might
sell
have.
them, I don't know. He was a character.
Yeah.
So now I can't remember. I
And,
just remember those chickens.
Oh, let's see.
So who was on the board though? I can't. Well,
So
John Ellis was on
John
the
Ellis
board
was on the
since
board.
day one.
Yeah, and he's
So you
still
gotta-
a board member.
Is he still a board member?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, yeah. So do you remember some of the issues or what you had to work out on the board? So what were some of the things you had to deal with while you were on the board?
I don't remember. I mean, there was that one I don't remember. I don't know. Maybe I don't want to remember.
Well, try to remember. Try to
I'm
remember.
trying to, and I can't.
Important.
I know, but probably parking, dealing with the city, the advertisement, who to let in, who not to let
There you
in.
go.
That was the
Yeah.
big issue.
Oh,
very big
which were there a lot
Whether
of
to
farmers
have-
who wanted to join at that time?
Well, I think the biggest issue was, do we take people from out of the county into our market? And that went round and around for years.
Mm-hmm.
And finally, they did.
They,
A few.
A few. I mean,
Yeah.
a few. Now
And all
they
the fruit
don't
growers.
anymore, I don't think.
All the fruit growers had to be from Mesa County
Yeah.
or Delta County. They couldn't just be
It
from,
was,
anywhere. And the,
mhm.
the
And what
farm-
was the reason why? I mean, they allowed the. Do you know? Remember what the reason was for allowing the fruit growers to come in?
for diversity, because, it's nice to have
People
a
want
peach.
fruit.
People want fruit. But we do limit our fruit growers that come in. I think there's only three allowed, isn't? I mean, there's only
3 or 4.
Oh, I see. Uh-huh.
yeah.
No.
There no more. They don't have any more.
John Cox was the first.
Yeah, I
come
remember
in.
him, John Cox.
Oh, really?
And I was still on the board when John Cox came in.
Oh, I want to hear about that because we bought our property from John Cox in Palisades.
You
So
are
we-
kidding?
Have you got a property there?
Yes, yes, we do have actually now 36 acres, and we own, what is it, 15 plus 9 is 24 acres, and the rest we lease. And we bought the property from John Cox.
Yeah.
So John Cox sold his, he sold his fruit.
Yes.
When was that? Do you remember?
Well, he
I was
never
on the
came, but his
board.
wife and daughter came.
Came. Oh, it's the same deal as with Marcy, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, well,
yeah, he
all
never
that way.
came. And yeah, he was the first fruit grower in
Okay.
our market. Anyway, yeah, John Cox
But-
was, and his wife and boys came down. They had beautiful fruit. Oh, he could really grow a peach.
Yes.
And then they
yes.
stopped coming for some reason, and I don't know why.
They turned it over to Morton.
And yeah, they do
Oh.
mainly wholesale now. I mean, as
Is that
we're
what they
still,
do?
yes, right.
They built a huge
He's-
wholesale.
yes, he
Yeah,
has
I've
done
been in
really
it.
well for
And the
himself.
two boys are in it.
Yes, Brian and Dave Cox,
Brian,
yeah,
yes.
are
And
running
they
it
were
now.
a little straw hat, and they really
Oh, wow.
they just do a fantastic job.
So he's mostly wholesale.
Yes, right.
And they sell
right.
a lot into Denver, not directly, but to wholesalers in Denver. And I know that Gary at Mrs. Condi's, he buys like 1,000 boxes of peaches every week from
From other
the Cox.
Coxes.
Yep. Mhm.
So going back, you mentioned that it takes 5 years to establish a market. So do you know, I mean, what is it that turned it around then after
Well,
5
it isn't 5. It takes 100 years, and it's still developing, as you notice, and we're
Yes.
still having problems with. It develops forever because traditions establish over a long, long period of time.
Well, I think people just got used to coming, and plus the population grew too in Boulder,
Yeah.
and everything changed.
You know, the
That's how I feel.
people really started to get attached lately to the slow food movement and realizing the importance of buying local,
Local.
Uh-huh.
buying things local. That's big, big thing now.
Yes, it has really, since, I mean, 75, these small beginnings, it has really, I mean, blossomed, right?
Oh, yeah.
The biggest thing is the restaurants. There might have been 1 or 2 restaurants that would buy local, and now there's 50 of them.
And so do you, outside the farmers markets, where else do you sell? You sell,
And
you have a stand here, a farm
then
stand.
supermarkets like Whole Foods and Alfalfa's and Ideal and so on. And restaurants. And that's about it.
And so you said you started about with 1 acre. How many acres do you farm now? Do you know?
It changes all
Well,
the time.
Do you lease also?
Yes.
120, 100,
We
120.
lease.
Yeah, we lease
Yeah.
ground too.
We lease what, 35 acres or 40?
About,
And do you
was it
lease it open space or from another farmer, or who do you?
another private individual?
Oh, all
Yeah.
right. So it was then you you farm their property, or how does that work? I don't know.
Yeah, we lease it. We lease
And
the-
Mike and Chris are basically in charge of the farm now. So they, lease the property and then they pay
so many, it could be so many dollars a year per acre.
Yeah.
Right, right.
Cash rent, they call it. Rent.
And is that so profitable? I mean, is that leasing it? Yeah.
Yeah,
Try to make it
because the boys need the land, we don't have enough,
to,
And what do you grow now?
sweet corn mostly,
Mostly sweet corn.
pumpkins and squash, tomatoes, green beans. Yesterday I spent the whole day planting
A lot of
spring
lettuce.
crops, lettuce and spinach, collards, kale, chard, cilantro, dill, radishes, and turnips.
Yeah, I didn't. And you sell all of this at markets
At
and
market, just
spring
market.
and just to
Yeah, because we don't open our stand until the middle of July when the sweet corn is ready.
Oh, I see.
Yeah,
Right,
so
right.
It doesn't pay. We've tried, but nobody comes to
I
buy
opened the
lettuce.
stand with lettuce one time, and everybody just
Nobody
drives right on by.
came.
Oh,
They
really?
just drive by. They don't want to
Yeah.
buy. They don't want to buy.
And maybe
they won't
things have
stop.
changed.
They don't want to stop.
Well, there's-
buying.
Yeah,
no,
they-
I
I
tried
mean,
it.
they don't have anybody to work the stand.
After I
early.
retired
So,
in
yeah.
the fall, I tried to sell,
Uh-huh.
and nobody stopped. And, yeah, I'm sure maybe in 5 or 10 years. But the problem is in the springtime, I'm busy planting and cultivating, preparing
Right,
soil.
right.
I got no time to, then come late summer and fall, then that stuff's all done. Then I can spend time selling stuff. But I can't sell stuff and disrupt.
Yeah, that is kind of the problem for the farmer, right? That it does take a lot of time to stand at a farm stand and wait
yeah.
for the customer.
If they don't come, I mean, if they come,
Yes,
they'll be
right,
fine.
right.
Yeah, we
right.
we do it on Saturday, and then Mike and Chris always have to hire somebody during the week.
So how many people do you have now that help you on the farm?
Nobody yet.
Right now, we got
Got nobody.
literally nobody.
Oh,
Right
and how do you do all this?
Well, we got a lot of grandkids. The kids do.
No, it's just-
Really, our sons do an enormous amount of the work,
Uh-huh.
and I jump in and do some, and she does some,
So
and
you
the grandkids do some, and then we hire some more help too.
But right now, we don't have any help hired.
We don't have any help at all.
Yeah.
Everybody works one season, and then they go on to something else. you know.
Right now, my boys, like Mike and Chris, are awful busy with the job. And like this week, I've been everything. I've done it all. I've prepared the ground and marked the rows and planted the stuff and did it all. But it's small right now. I can do that. Later on, I won't be able to. I have to hire some people to help.
So what is it fun for both of you to farm? What is it that you keep on going and going farming? What
Yeah,
do
what happens?
I don't plant anymore.
Well,
I
I
did
do.
my.
I do, and it's a tremendous reward to grow beautiful crops. I can remember it from a child. I guess you get it from your grandpa and your dad and your great grandpa and them. I can still see my dad saying, "Oh boy, look at this field, how nice it looks," and then planting the seeds and it grows and it looks so beautiful, and then the harvest and all that, and it's just a heartwarming thing to do. There's nothing like it in the world. No business that is so self-fulfilling in many, many ways. It's just hard to explain that in so many ways it can be fulfilling. The pride of your hard work turning into something that's really valuable to a lot of people. That's and it drives you. What it does, it stimulates you to just keep going until you die. And then a lot of farmers do that. They just farm until they die. They don't ever quit. There's a guy back in my hometown. He planted his last a couple of years ago. He planted his last field of corn and harvested it and died. He was 100 years old.
So you have a long life ahead of
He
you.
farmed until he was 100.
100,
Well,
yeah.
You're
Yeah.
retired too, and you enjoy doing it as your second job.
Yeah.
But we do Saturdays. Saturdays is really fun
We
because see
do
all
this-
the people.
Yeah,
Oh, at the farm
Oh,
stand?
yeah, at the
Uh-huh.
farm stand. It's,
Uh-huh.
Everybody. I mean, the same people always come. Hopefully, we'll get new people. But everybody enjoys coming, and it's like a community.
Uh-huh.
It's like a community center at the Munson stand. It seems like everybody. Oh, it's so nice to see you. To the next person, and so it's kind of fun.
So yeah, you have also been involved in the farmers market so long, and I see you still coming to the market, right?
I do.
Yes.
But that's only until we open the stand around the middle of July.
Oh, I see.
So I'm down there.
Here. Uh-huh.
But once this opens, then I'm there. And I don't go there anymore
More. Uh-huh.
on Saturday. Because we run it on Saturday. But I go on
Just me
Wednesday
and him.
sometimes. Sometimes I go
Yes,
on
right.
Wednesday.
Uh-huh.
Because I love the market. I love the customers. I love to sell stuff, and I love to make a really beautiful display. I like to harvest it, make sure it looks really good. I like seeing all the customers that come by, and I don't know. It's just so many people like going to a farmer's market because they're on this side of the stand buying,
Uh-huh.
but that's nothing compared to being on the other side of it.
Oh, so what's the...
If you go to a market, you might talk to 5 or 6 farmers or 10 farmers, but when you're the farmer, you talk to 1,000 people.
Yes, yes.
You know,
I still tell you, I like the buying more. I'm glad when I get off. Right, I have a booth there too. I
Do you still have your booth yet?
Yes, right, and I enjoy when I get off and I can shop at the market rather than.
And gab.
Yeah.
I know.
I go to maybe 20 or 30 farmers markets all over the United States, all over the world in a year's time.
Oh.
And half the time, I'll spot a farmer that's short of help, and I'll end up just jumping on the other side and helping him.
Yeah, they appreciate you because you're so knowledgeable, right?
Just a San Francisco farmers market stand there with a big bowl of strawberries, passing out a sample, and telling all the customers at San Francisco market that his strawberries are the best. I tasted them all, and the guy's got one guy had a great big truckload of strawberries, and he and his wife didn't have any help. And I sold his whole truckload for him. I mean, he cashed the money out and filled the stuff, but I sold them.
Well, maybe I want to invite you over to sell some wine for me.
There you go.
But you see, what I didn't tell you was the way I started. My dad would plant me and my sister an acre of sweet corn on our farm in eastern Illinois starting in 1950.
Mm-hmm.
So when we were little growing up, we always had corn all summer to sell. And we would pedal it on a bicycle in Morocco, Indiana, and Donovan, Illinois. See, there's the state line right here, and Morocco's over here, and Donovan's over here. And we'd go up and knock on the door. Do you want to buy some sweet corn? How much is it? Nickel and air, 35 cents a dozen, or 3 dozen for $1. Well, let me think about it. And you had to take no for an answer 9 times out of 10. And it was really valuable, most valuable lesson you can learn in salesmanship, to take no for an answer and try again, not just give up, because it's so easy just to give up because you're going to get no for an answer 9 times out of 10.
Yeah, no,
and out of the no, and out of the no, you get, maybe come back tomorrow, or I'll buy one here and try it, and then come back.
Yeah, you come back,
and then
right?
you come back the next day and they say, we're going to take the 3 dozen for $1. So you learn marketing and salesmanship first from a child, and that's important to learn it when you're young, because it's a challenge, you know.
Yes, it is. So do you want to talk a little more about your relationship with your customers? Right, as you said, I mean, they followed you from the courthouse lawn and then to the 13th Street and then here at the farm stand too. So.
No, this stand preceded the 13th Street Market. This started in 1979.
Yeah,
79.
Oh wow, that's a long tradition.
But they were a different crowd here than we would get even down on the courthouse mall. Although there is some mixing of the two.
Not too much, though.
They're kind of a different bunch of people here. They're the people that live in Gun Barrel and live in the country out here that buy at the stand.
And some people that bought from us actually when we lived in Frasier Meadows.
Yeah.
I still have some of those customers.
So actually, do we want to have, I suggest a second tape to talk a little bit more about the farm.
Sure.
So, yeah. All right, and then we can kind of set up some pictures now. We take a break and then come back.
Okay.
We are back to the interview with Bob and Marcy Munson, and we're looking at some pictures from the farmers market on the courthouse lawn. So, Marcy, tell us, what do we see in the first picture?
The first picture you see me, my dad, and Mike Munson. And
Mike is your son, right?
Yes, Mike is our oldest son. And, gosh, is that Bob? And then Bob is way in the back. It's right there.
So what are you?
We're selling sweet corn.
Okay.
And mostly and probably and tomatoes and cucumbers.
All right, and then we have another picture, right?
Yes.
So
that's the courthouse.
I'll help you. Okay.
There's just the customers buying our produce there. Well, I think our produce stand is to the left there. And I think they're buying somebody else's stuff right there. But I don't know. I'm sorry.
Then we have a picture, and that shows it's your dad.
My dad and our youngest son, Chris, selling sweet corn in front of the courthouse.
So did your dad and mom also live in Colorado?
No, my mom and dad lived in Detroit, Michigan.
Oh, and so
And they came out every year.
to visit. And,
Yes,
and helped you then selling at the market. Because
yes.
here's another picture that shows your mom.
My mom came out every year, and she loved to do the farmers market. And this is on 13th Street now, in the fall, October. I think the date's in the back.
And then we have one more picture that shows the other crop you're really known for. It's your pumpkins.
Yes. Pumpkins. And that happens to be the same year too, on 13th Street. And there's Indian corn, pumpkins, and acorns.
So now we take a break again for another tape, and we will be back.